Hello everyone, you welcome to this edition of the Inside on Equinoxe Television. I am Babla Jonathan. Lawyers, human rights defenders, civil society leaders continue decrying gross human rights violations and abuse in the Republic of Cameroon, especially in the two crisis-stricken northwest and southwest regions of the Republic, where a security and socio-political crisis has been going on for close to 5 years today. And one of the most recent incidents revealing or speaking volumes of the level of decadence of human rights standards in the Republic of Cameroon is the arrest and detention of a pregnant woman in the Boya Central Prison in the southwest region of the country. She has been in detention for more than 3 weeks now, and lawyers have been battling for her release. We're going to be looking at this in this edition of The Insight. Meet our guest in some few seconds. Thank you for staying with us in this edition of The Inside. Our first guest with me here in the studio in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, is Barrister Tamfu Richard, human rights advocate and peace crusader, member of the Cameroon and Nigerian Bar Associations. He filed a case against the officer of the Rapid Intervention Battalion who led the arrest of Consul Antoinette Gola. The case targets the maltreatment of the young woman during her arrest. Barrister, you're welcome.
Good to meet you, Mr. Babila. The pleasure is all mine to be here.
Also joining us from the Southwest Regional Chief Town, Boya, Barrister Ewule Lyonga. He is a human rights lawyer, member of the Cameroon Bar Association. He is the man who filed the habeas corpus application at the Boya High Court demanding for the young woman arrested and detained to be presented before the court. Barrister, welcome to the program.
I'm happy to be here in the
Ali Mirabel Sonkie, a civil society leader, gender rights activist, founder of the Network of Solidarity, Hope and Empowerment. Thank you. You're welcome on board.
Thank you, Mr. Babila. It's always a pleasure to be here to talk about social justice. It's so appalling when you get up one morning and you realize that a pregnant woman is in jail for whatever reason we still have to understand. Thank you for inviting me on Inside.
All right, you're welcome. Now, before we get into the legal side of the whole issue, I want to start with you, Mirabel. You are a woman, gender rights activist, civil society leader. What's your reaction to this other revelation, this other side of human rights violations, what lawyers have qualified as gross human rights violations in the Republic of Cameroon, the arrest and detention of a pregnant young woman with a pregnancy of about 8 months old?
It's so appalling when you imagine that a woman is arrested under unclear circumstances, because we still yet to understand the legal basis of her arrest, which I'm still trying to understand. You know, I heard that she was assaulted by somebody and taken to jail for having an affair with a combatant. So I'm still asking myself questions since how long will women suffer in the hands of the military or the security and defense forces for crimes that they commit? You know, it's heart-wrenching being a woman. I imagine the hurdles a pregnant woman is going through. Carrying a baby to bring forth life, it's not an easy thing. And then you imagine that you have to be arrested under unclear circumstances. It's not easy. Like a woman, we just have to all stand up. We all have to stand up against such abuses, because this is not an isolated case. This is not an isolated case. We keep on saying they are sexually assaulted. Women are victims of conflict-related violence. You know, so There's a call for concern. There's a big call for concern because this case is a case which falls within a context of sexual reproductive health and maternal mortality. We know the risk women face during childbearing. And I don't know how I think the barrister is going to tell us how she is, her mental state, her physical state, it's not easy thinking about it, So that's how I feel, and every woman, I think, feels same. Thank you.
All right, Barrister Ewule Lyonga, Barrister Tamfu Richard, before I come to you, permit me bring in this report at this point so that we can have more details on what happened to the young woman and how she was arrested, what's been happening up to now. And we're going to get some details in this report compiled by Derek Jato and Innocent Aze.
Over 12 lawyers are on the case of Consul Antoinette.
On the 2nd of October 2021, Madam Consul Antoinette, who was a former girlfriend of a separatist fighter by name No Pity, was being arrested. A chief who is also a military man by name Chief Moja Moja led the arrest.
Barrister Edward Ewule is one of the lead counsels.
And as a human rights lawyers that we are, we will not let that line low.
And the case will be heard on Friday, the 22nd day of October 2021. And these battery of lawyers involved are calling for justice.
We have a very sound president of the High Court, Justice Anna Fong. Anna Fong is a very sound judge of the High Court, and we are telling her that as she's handling this case, the whole world is looking at her. The whole international community is looking at her. We want her to render justice.
At the moment, Barrister Tamfu Richard has also filed a complaint against Chief Ewume Eko John, fondly known here, Chief Moja Moja.
We filed a complaint against him for torture of a pregnant woman and threats.
These human rights legal minds say they are not in any way standing on the way of justice, but are calling on the power that be to take justice to the suspect or bring the suspect to justice, not those related to the suspect.
I, my learned friend, Barrister Tamfu here, Barrister Lengenju Vitalis, who filed the case, we said no. If No Pity has committed a crime, the military might should be able to go after No Pity.
At press time, the 25-year-old 8 months pregnant Consul Antoinette was still at the Buea Central Prison.
CHADA, the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa, says it is not relenting efforts in ensuring General No Pity's ex-girlfriend, Antoinette Kongsa Goda, arrested, tortured and detained on Saturday, October 2nd, 2021 by 3 masked soldiers led by Chief of Boassa Village in Buea. Ewume Eko John, alias Moja Moja, is released from pre-trial detention at the Buea Central Prison.
As a human rights organization, we also have a law firm which is the litigation unit of the organization, and through the litigation unit we have created a legal team, a task force which is charged with her case. So there are about 12 lawyers who are going to take on the case.
CHADA also reacted by filing a habeas corpus.
We started by filing a habeas corpus and the military court against the Legion Commander and against the superintendent, the penitentiary administration. So we filed a habeas corpus for the protection of the arrested person because she has been there for days and we have not been able to see her. So we need her to be produced in court and to be charged for any offense which they are holding her for.
Antoinette, a 25-year-old expectant mother and mother of 2, was initially detained at the Legion Gendarmerie Brigade, where she spent 3 weeks before her transfer to the Buea Central Prison on awaiting trial. According to CHADA, in its October 13 report, Antoinette's family has been denied access to her. Dishing out information to Chada, the family alleges the prison authorities have said Antoinette has been diagnosed with COVID-19. The family has also told Chada that Antoinette and No Pity had broken up in 2018 with no effective communication between them, as gendarmes at the Legion insist of a steady conversation and monthly financial support from No Pity. The detained expectant mother, before being transferred to the Boya Central Prison, revealed she lost a huge sum of money made from her Momo business when she was being beaten and kicked mercilessly by Moja and his colleagues, who also seized her business and personal telephones. At the time of her detention, she had no legal representative.
Until today, the lawyers fighting for her freedom have not been able to see her. Even her relatives have not been able to meet the young woman who is in detention in the Boya Central Prison, southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. Barrister Ewule, you were in court on Friday, and a lot of things transpired there. Can you just tell us what happened at the court on Friday, the Boya High Court?
On Friday, we were in the court of the judge. The matter was before the president of the High Court, Lord Justice Anna Fong, who was the presiding judge of this matter. The court sat at exactly 11 a.m. and we had 6 lawyers led by Barrister Lengenju Vitalis. He was the one who led the team of lawyers, and you had other lawyers like Barrister A.B. Stanley Ekwale, you had Barrister Mafani Victor, you had Barrister Nyong Badmia Ivan, you had Barrister Atiba, and you had Barrister Nguve. There were 6 lawyers in their numbers, and the legal department was represented by Magistrate Kilungwa. And what surprised us, what embarrassed us and embarrassed the entire public was that the orders of the court was not respected. Can you imagine that the orders, when you file a habeas corpus under section 584 of the Criminal Procedure Code, the judge, the president of the court, orders the people who are keeping these accused persons to produce them. These people who are wrongfully detained. Hello? Yes. So that they should be produced. But for our greatest dismay, we came to court on Friday, and they were Madame Antoinette Conso Golda was not produced before the court. And the lawyers asked the court, why is it that the orders of the court is not respected? And all of us were shocked because the legal department had filed a preliminary objection on Wednesday last week. And today they were raising that we should answer on the preliminary objection. And the court said, and the lawyers for Madame Conso Antoinette said, no. What should be germane is that the court should ask the legal department and the prison superintendent and the Legion officers why they have not produced Madame Conso Antoinette before the court. We raised serious arguments, and the court went ahead and overruled us and said we should answer on the questions that have been raised by the legal department on the preliminary objection. And that was when we asked for a date. We said we want a date to advise ourselves. And the court had ruled that we should file our written submission on or before Monday, because the matter is coming up on the 26th. That is on Tuesday. The matter will be coming up on Tuesday, the 26th, for the court to determine the preliminary objection raised by the legal department. But Mr. Babila, is the most embarrassing thing is that We have seen that court orders are not respected in this country. Can you
Court
imagine
orders
that the High
are
Court
not
of
respected
Baku-
in this country. Barrister Ewule, I'll come back to you in a short while. You are the man who filed the habeas corpus appeal. Now, Barrister Tamfu Richard, what's your analysis of what transpired in the court on Friday?
Yes, I think the only analysis we have to take home is that when it comes to habeas corpus, that's a special procedure that's provided by the Cameroon Criminal Procedure Code. And that procedure entails that you, the applicant, you do it through the President of the High Court, whose duty, after examining the file or the application of habeas corpus, has to ask the legal department to bring the person, to bring the body of the person for which the habeas corpus procedure is being made. Because when you do the habeas corpus, it's because you have the presumption that the person who is being detained either is being detained illegally without a due warrant, or that the person has been arrested without any formal document. So that's the application made before the High Court. And under normal circumstances, you first the court orders that they should bring the person, and when that person now is brought, that is when now they can now look into the case file of the person to see if exactly there is a warrant, a remand warrant or not, or whether the person is under due detention. So for this case, what we can conclude is that that act or that process has not been followed, and instead there is a preliminary objection from the legal department, maybe for one reason or the other, and it leaves us to our taste to know exactly whether the person who is being detained is detained under a regular remand warrant or whatsoever. I think that's just the analysis that we can make at this point.
All right, Mirabe Sonki, you followed the report we heard earlier in this program. As a human rights defender, a gender rights activist, what do you think about the circumstances surrounding the arrest of the young woman?
Yeah, according to what the lawyers have said, there's no legal basis for her arrest. Despite filing a habeas corpus, she's still not been able to brought to court to respond or to whatsoever. So this goes to reinforce the fact that human rights abuses are perpetrated continuously in the two Anglophone regions. This is not, that's what I said initially in my first when I came on. It's not an isolated case, but how do we want to stop this? The laws are not followed. Nothing is being followed in the country. It goes to reinforce that we are living in an, I don't know, what do I say, a no-go zone or whatsoever, because what is this woman being accused of? She's accused of what? Dating a separatist fighter, an ex? For me, these are some of the things that you don't even have to. Not in the 21st century. We're in the 21st century, but we're behaving like people of the 16th, 15th century. This is unacceptable. We have to stand up like a people to say enough is enough. To say enough is enough. But how do we get there when the judges too are complacent? So when they accept all these things? Is it a political arrest? Is it a social arrest, or what? What is she being asked? Because up to now, I've still not understood the reason for her arrest. She was assaulted.
Another thing
assaulted.
Another thing that is provoking anger and condemnation from across the globe is the fact that she is pregnant with pregnancy.
Exactly.
8 months old. She's sent in the prison. She is beaten, tortured by the officers
for
who
3
arrested
weeks.
her.
Yeah, this is this is heart-wrenching. Just thinking about it as a woman, she's pregnant. In Africa, we talk about maternal mortality. This woman is 8 months pregnant. Every day you have the Minister of Health telling us about they're trying to reduce maternal mortality rate. But this woman, tortured, being pregnant, taken to jail for 3 weeks, they don't even know her condition. The lawyers have not seen her. This is unacceptable. We cannot see it. Do we have to go to the streets so people understand that there's something going wrong? People say we are in a peaceful nation. What peace is it?
All right.
There's no rule of law in this country. There's no rule of law. How do we get up? How did we get here? This is a question we should be asking ourselves. How did we get there? People sit in Yaoundé and say everything is okay. Meanwhile, those in the Anglophone regions are suffering. This is proof of what is happening. We saw what happened last week.
All right, Barrister Tamfu, what does the law say about the circumstances of the arrest and detention of the pregnant woman?
Yes, arrest is regulated by the Criminal Procedure Code, and it has a way of executing an arrest. You cannot be arrested without warrant, except you are committing an offense which we coin in legal term as a flagrant delicto offense, meaning that you are in the course of committing that offense, or you just committed offense and you are living. So, arrest. When somebody is carrying out an arrest, there should be a warrant of arrest. But concerning this particular case of these ladies, we can see, or we saw clearly on the video that went viral, that someone was arresting her or assaulting her without due process. And that is what is making such an arrest illegal. Drawing making the arrest illegal, it pushes people like us who are human rights advocates to be able to file for habeas corpus, because habeas corpus procedure, the judge entertains when there is an illegal in the arrest, when there's an illegality in the arrest, when the detention is also arbitrary or illegal. So those are the instances that when such act happen, we think that the law is not being respected. We should not behave in Cameroon as if Cameroon is a jungle. Cameroon is a state of law where they should respect the rule of law. The law cannot say that for you to arrest somebody, you need to present a warrant of arrest to that person and you disclose your identity. On this case, that is not being done. On this case, we are not seeing this lady maybe committing an offense on the spot, warranting that she should be arrested for an offense committed flagrantly delicto. So I think these are all the bridges in the Criminal Procedure Code that we consider it as gross human rights violation, because somebody will sit in his high shoe and thinks that he is the one to act like the police officer, he is the one to act like the state council or the magistrate and takes the laws into his hands. We say no. A society cannot function like that. A society functions with rules and we must observe those rules. So this arrest is illegal and her detention too is illegal. So the state should be able to tell us what has become of the society. Should people be taking the laws in? When the constitution itself says that people will have equal rights, the state should guarantee the applicability of the law on every citizen. So where is it? So we are frustrated, we are embarrassed to see that Cameroon functions in this way. So to tell you, at least explicit not to me, is scandalous to see that we live in a society whereby no rule of law is being applied or is being respected. So there is nothing much to say, but just to decry the situation that we are heading to a lawless state if we have to continue in this.
All right, Barrister Eule Lionga, she was arrested in connection to a relationship she had with a leading separatist or non-state armed group fighter, General No Pity, in the northwest region of the country. Is there any legal backing? Is there any legal provision that can justify the arrest of an individual based on a relationship he or she had with somebody in the past?
No, there is no legal backing. And that is why some of us decry the process and we think that some of these leaders think that we are in a banana republic. But no, some of us human rights lawyers are telling the powers that be that we are not in a banana republic, we are in a state of law. Mr. Babila, let me draw your attention to this. If the state actors, the intelligence service, wanted to get information from this lady, okay, it's easy. You don't go and arrest her and molest her to get information. If you want to get information from this lady to lead you to where the separatist fighter is, there's a procedure. You can put her in an air conditioned boss, you take her to a very conducive atmosphere, you give her food to eat, you try to tell her that this information is necessary for her to collaborate with the state to get this person who is maybe a threat to the stability of the state. You try to even tell her that let her not be scared, that even if this man is arrested, the state is going to take care of the children. Because imagine that No Pity is a father of one of Madam Conso's child, and No Pity provides for that child. Do you think that woman will just get information that is going to catch No Pity and kill? Who will take care of the child? So these are some of the things that the state should be able to put before her, that okay, if you collaborate with us, we have seen that you are not guilty. You people have separated, but maybe you can give us one or two information. But we are showing that if everything goes on well, we'll either look for you a job or we'll give scholarship to your children. These are some of the advantages that she is going to get to collaborate with the state. Not that you go and arrest her, parade her on social media. After parading her on social media, you go and detain her incommunicado. Up to now is 3 weeks to 1 month. We don't know. She has not been charged properly to any court. We filed a habeas corpus to the High Court instead of the state or the judges to come forward to say such arrest is illegal and go ahead to look at the substance of the case. They instead go and file for a preliminary objection. So the questions that Cameroonians are asking, and it's behold, even the state council who has filed this habeas corpus, even the judge, Justice Anna Fong, that is handling this case, that let her look into her conscience. That does the arrest and the illegal detention of this woman within the scope of the law? Because we were very embarrassed on Friday, instead of her to look at the substratum of the matter, she was looking at preliminary issues. And that is how we decided to take it in. So, Babila, if you look at it critically, there is no legal backing. But we got messages from some quarters that the intelligence service wanted to get information from this lady to help them in the fight against terrorist groups in the country. We are not objecting to them getting information, but you cannot extort information which is even again which has even been prohibited by our constitution, by the Criminal Procedure Code, and even on the elimination of all violence against women, on which was the United Nations Declaration on the 20th of December 1993, that you cannot extort information using force. Treating, battering the woman, she's 8 months pregnant, and they are not looking at any of these things. So these are the things that we decry, and we pray that the learned justice who is handling this case, Justice Anna Fong, must look at the substance of the case. They are not look at small typographical things to throw out this thing, because the whole world is looking at her. The whole world is looking at her, and to be honest with you, it shows. The actions of the judiciary shows that the judiciary is not man enough. It shows that the executive is always there to have an upper hand on the judiciary. And this is what we're talking about, separation of power in our country.
All right,
but the judiciary should be able to be checking the actions of the executive. And that is what we see our judiciary very, very hand tight.
That raises the question of the independence of the judiciary in Cameroon. There are many who simply think that the judiciary is under the feet of the executive. That's what some people are saying. But those who are close to the authorities, the government, the ruling CPD and political party will say that the 3 arms of power in Cameroon are independent, including the judiciary, of course. Barrister Tamfu, what are some of the mitigating circumstances that this lady is normally entitled to or deserves according to the law?
Yes, according to the law, the first thing is that no matter the circumstances, somebody is presumed innocent until you are proven guilty before a court of law. So this woman should be presumed innocent until proven guilty before a court of law. That's the first thing she benefits from. Another thing she can benefit from is the fact that she has a known place of abode, whereby she can benefit from the largesse of what they call a bail in law. This woman is a mother of 2 kids. This woman is a pregnant woman, for that matter. I think these are some of the guarantees that could have guided the court or the prosecution or whosoever is holding her to benefit from. But this is not the case, because bail is provided in the law. At this point in time, she's not guilty. She's still presumed innocent until the contrary is proven. So now, why is it that she cannot benefit for bail following the circumstances in which she finds herself? So that is the problem. If we are not refusing or we are not advocating that the state should not open up criminal investigation if an offense is committed. If she's presumed to have committed an offense, at this point in time, she is still just a suspect. And for that reason, she has the possibility to benefit for bail. So bail has not been granted to this woman, and that is what is disturbing. Her condition of being 8 months pregnant, she's questioning. She having 2 kids. Who is taking care of those kids at the moment as she's been detained in the Buea Central Prison? So all of this is what baffles us, what it irritates some of us like human rights advocates, because where we think that the law should be respected is not being respected. And this case, the state should be very careful, because when we behave like this, it means that some people are above the law. It means that some people have the responsibility to determine and to undo as far as liberties are concerned, which is not what the Constitution says. We are supposed to be protected by the law, and nobody is above the law. So if the law provides for some special treatment or special measures like the bail, this woman should have been granted bail. But we instead see on the contrary that the justice is instead like trying to molest her, already putting her guilty, whereas she has not yet appeared before any court and she has not been given all necessary guarantees of a fair trial if it's supposed to be. So all those rights have been violated, even her right to defense, because it's also a right for you to have a counsel. She has not been given that possibility. We even have information that she was interrogated summarily in the French language, which she doesn't even understand in French. So how do you then want us to believe that the information that she will provide will be genuine? How do you want to show the transparency? The justice should be blind. Justice should not be done as if it has to favor somebody. No. All we want is a transparency in the investigation. So what the state is doing, like hiding her, keeping her incommunicado, hiding her away from lawyers, make us to doubt the credibility of whatsoever is going on, and we believe that this is gross human rights violation.
Citizens should be protected by the state, should be protected by the law. With Mirabel, we're going to talk about the protection of women who constitute a vulnerable group, and of course we'll talk about that after the press review. Let's go to the newsstands and see what the newspapers reported this week. Immaculate Fogwe.
The Voice. Battle to free General No PT's ex-girlfriend from prison. Rights lawyers raise sledgehammer on Moja Moja. The Guardian Post quotes the injured pastor of the church in Bali. I was shot by the military. The Voice Weekender says helpless Angem population weep. Hausa militia freely burn businesses, looting homes. Another edition of the Guardian Post says 127 days in separatist captivity. Government maintains sealed lips over fate of kidnapped Dian delegates. The Median. Complaints of election fraud aggrieved Tico CPDM militants storm party headquarters. The Sun. COVID-19 compulsory vaccination. Teachers syndicate kick against saying there is no legal framework. The Post Weekender quotes the national chairman of the Social Democratic Front Party, Nijan Fundi, letting CDC Pamol Tea Estates collapse will be worse than Anglophone crisis. As reported by Eden, church leaders and government decry Boya killing. The Post questions why the PM is avoiding open dialogue with real actors during a stay in Northwest and Southwest regions. The Star, AFCON 2021, Biya goes on the offensive.
You're welcome back. Thank you, Immaculate Fogwe, for the press review. Mirabel Sonki, in the light of this recent happening in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, the arrest and detention of the pregnant woman in the Boye Central Prison, what's your take on the protection of women in Cameroon by the law, by the state, especially women in the crisis-stricken regions, not only in the northwest, southwest, but also in the far north, where there is the Boko Haram crisis?
I think Cameroon has ratified all international conventions to protect the woman. But the law of application does not exist. As such, anything happens to poor, vulnerable women who are out there. If you don't have somebody, thank God for the case in Boya, you have lawyers who are standing up to defend this woman. Is that what should be happening? It is the responsibility of the state to protect its citizens, most especially the most vulnerable. Women fall within the most vulnerable of the population, but they are not protected at all. You know, so it's so complex. We talk about the case and to come to terms with why she is a victim of assault from somebody. This person should be the person who has to be tried, not the woman. She should not be in jail. If they wanted to get information from her, as Barrister said, they had to use subtle means to get information from her, put her in a position where she will freely give the information. I know a case in the US where the FBI had to put a woman behind one of our Cameroonian brothers to get the guy into his trap. The guy was a scammer. You know, he was getting money from the state illegal. They put a woman behind him. They used all the subtle means to get there. So they could still use him. They could lure this woman with promises, even if it's fake promises. We've seen this happen in other countries. Why not in our country? Women are not protected. We really need to come up like people and stop this. The declaration, the elimination of all forms of violence against, which was ratified by Cameroon, being implemented. Why? These are questions we keep on asking ourselves every day. Why is this not implemented? The women are vulnerable. So if we don't have lawyers like the 6 lawyers who started for her, she will rot in jail. She will rot in jail, no due process. We all see that there's some bias. The rule of law is not applied. She is suspected of something, but what is the presumption of innocence, as they say? There's no presumption of innocence. So is it because she's a woman? And I think this military man, if it were a man, would not have it that way. Because I'm not sure he's going to be able to face this man who they're looking for because he's a man. Because it's a woman and vulnerable and pregnant, more to that, he takes advantage of her situation and does what he wants. I think the judge has to stand up, not because she's a woman. She has to, like the law has to be applied. She's a judge. It's not because she's a woman that she has to feel like we're talking about the wrongs. It's not because you're a woman that you have to do something wrong. But the law has to be applied, and this is what we're asking for. Thank you.
All right, Barrister Lyonga, it's not just about the woman, it's also about an innocent life. A child whose life is threatened, who is at the risk of death in this incident.
Babila, I would like to say that what makes us very scared is what happened to my former client. His name is Samuel Wazizi. I defended Samuel Wazizi, and we were still in court. habeas corpus in that very court of Fako with numerous objections from the legal department while Wazizi had died in custody. It was only after Equinoxe TV came 1 year after to tell the world, including myself, that you people are wasting your time in court. Wazizi had already died in detention. And that was when the military spokesman Cyril Atonfa came out to tell the world and the international community on national TV that Wazizi had died in military custody. And that was where you saw all the white groups coming up to call to find out what is happening. But it is important that if everybody could have stood up to start to fight when I started the Wazizi case, maybe Wazizi couldn't have died. But people started talking about it only after Equinoxe and the military spokesman announced that he had died in detention. So, to be honest with you, these are exactly the things that we are scared. That me in particular, I'm very scared and worried. I did a case of Wazizi, series of objections, like they have just started one now, preliminary objections, those type of tactics, and they did not bring Wazizi, and Wazizi died in detention. That is why we are pressing this time around that let Madame Conso Antoinette be produced before the court. Let us ascertain whether she is alive, because it's very important. We should not waste time. Last time I was in court for 1 year, 6 months, following the case of Wazizi. Why Wazizi had died a long time ago, and family home, I myself, lawyer, I was not aware. So what we are trying to say is, we don't want the Wazizi case to continue, and that is what we are avoiding. We don't want another person to die in detention. We don't care whether she is guilty or not guilty. But for now, she has not been charged before any court, and she cannot even be charged for terrorism because she is no longer with no pity. And we are getting some information that I want to confirm it before saying it, that even after the investigation that has been carried out, she is not, from all indications, she cannot even be charged for terrorism. So why are you keeping her incommunicado? Why are you taking her before a military examining magistrate? Why all this? So these are the things that we are saying that we are very worried about it. Like what my learned friend Barrister Tanfu said, we are not stopping the state from carrying out investigation against persons that they are allegedly involved in criminal action. That is not what we are saying. But we are saying that even though these persons have to be investigated, their rights have to be respected.
Their rights have to be respected, and of course, according to the information at our disposal, she separated with the separatists or the non-state armed group fighters in Rodnopiti in 2015 or so. That was before the crisis started, before he became a separatist fighter. And Barrister Tanfu Richard, you have filed the case against the soldier of the Rapid Intervention Battalion who led the arrest of the young woman, and that case is focusing on the torture, the maltreatment brought to bear on that woman during her arrest and even after that.
Yes, a so-called Chief Moja Moja is a Cameroon soldier of the Rapid Intervention Battalion. So I filed a criminal complaint at the military tribunal, whereby I am complaining to the Commissioner for Government that Chief Moja Moja, in his capacity as a military soldier, is tarnishing the image of the Cameroon military. And what he did, or what we are accusing him of, is that he has tortured Ngonso Antoinette. He has maltreated her, he has mistreated her in the presence of kids. And after illegally arresting her and parading her in all the towns, within the towns of Kuba, within the towns of Boya, he went as far as handing her to the Legion commander of Boya, and where she was being kept in detention till we hear that she is now in detention at the Boya Center. So the complaint that Chief Moja has to answer through a proper investigation that we believe will be awarded by the military state prosecutor at the Boya military court is that he has to answer for torture, for torturing a pregnant woman, and also for assault on a pregnant woman. So these charges are contained in the Cameroon Penal Code. When you read the provisions of sections 277 and 338, you will see that these are the offenses for which Chief Moja is suspected to have committed, and we hope that in this country nobody is above the law and nobody can stop criminal investigations to open. So we put the Commissioner for Government to his responsibility to make sure that justice is being served with respect to this case. So that is a complaint before the court. So we are still waiting on the Commissioner for Government to assign the unit or the gendarmerie or the police unit that will be able to open investigations and bring Chief Moja to answer to the complaint that we have filed on behalf of our client Gonso Antoinette. So that's the position of the case. We are still waiting on that, and we have also had information that Gonso Antoinette has been referred to an examining magistrate at the military court. So we have also requested the charge sheet to know exactly for what are they accusing her of, which to date we have still not received. So we expect that justice should be done, and that justice should not be tampered with upon as we are seeing. We expect that Cameroon, being a state of law, will only be served by that law. So we are waiting that thorough investigation should be opened with respect to the complaint that we filed, which was filed on Tuesday. So we are still to get who will be the investigator or which unit will investigate this crime, and let Chief Moja come and answer. If he's found that he has committed or there are a lot of evidence with respect to the two offenses that we cited, let him be deferred to the military court and let him have a case to answer there. And we are ready to fight to the last man standing with respect to this case, so that this lady, who to us is still presumed innocent, seek justice.
Right, we're going to take some interviews now. Interviews of the week.
At times, places are calm, and at times are hot. I can only say we have relative peace back home. So we hope for a full, peaceful situation within my community.
So many people have not gone home since this crisis started. So the fund came here purposely to make a call that those who have not been coming to the village should return and support the village to develop the village, because that is our homeland. The electricity system has been completely destroyed. The water system destroyed. That is why today there was a fundraising to go back and develop the village. We are thinking of home so much.
When I told him that this should not happen again, he actually mentioned that they are doing everything in their powers to make sure that this does not happen again. Then that is our prayer, that is our wish, and we just pray and hope that situations like this do not come up again.
One can really visit the ambassador here and not talk about the crisis that is happening in Northern South, since we have some of those protagonists living here in the United States. So it was important that I share some views with the ambassadors on what is happening. And I'm very impressed with what the ambassador has told me about some ongoing negotiation. I will disclose them here because it's still ongoing. But also the fact that he has given me hopes on how he is intending to contribute to bringing back peace to Cameroon, and also encouraging me towards what I've been doing to make sure that peace reigns in Northwest and in Kabe in particular. So I think we've exchanged views about the ongoing crisis, and in the days ahead I think some actions will be taken, and to make sure that our brothers who were once lost should be found. They should realize that Cameroon is one and indivisible. Like any other country, we have problems, that our problems cannot be solved through radicalization of the young ones. Problems cannot be solved by stopping children from going to school. So I'm very, very happy with the views and the information that the ambassador has given me, and I think in the days ahead a lot will happen. And I'm calling on my brothers, because here in the US I happen to have talked to most of them, and I'm happy that most of them started realizing that Cameroon will always remain one and indivisible. But now it's all of us to come and make sure that peace return to Cameroon, and to make sure that those boys in the bushes come out. The head of state has created centers, DDR centers for them. They should come out and be integrated into the society. So I'm very, very happy about our discussions concerning the crisis in the Northwest and the Southwest.
Those were interviews of the week. Birabe Sonki, let's take a look at the consequences, the impact of the arrest and detention of the young woman in the Boye Central Prison on the security tensions in the Northwest and Southwest regions. All right, we'll be coming back to you in a short while. Barrister Tanfu Richard, when you look at this incident coming at this point in time when government has continued with efforts and other stakeholders, we were listening there to Honorable Ngala Gerard, who is on a peace mission to the United States, meeting with some stakeholders, the ambassador of Cameroon in the US, and discussing issues about restoring peace in Cameroon, and this incident is happening at this point in time. What's your take about the impact? What do you think about the impact of this on the situation in the Northwest and Southwest regions?
Yes, we should continue to be the peace crusaders. We should continue to advocate for peace. The unfortunate thing is that as we are trying in our own possible best to preach the gospel of peace, we continue to witness excesses from the authorities that continue to fuel the crisis. Some of these things are not helping us. When you continue to violate citizens' rights, citizens feel unsecured, that the law cannot protect them. It continues to fuel and shuttles down the peace that we are preaching. I think government should try to revisit or give a strong warning to can even use this case to pass on a strong message that in as much as I'm struggling to go along preaching peace, we saw the Prime Minister on his various mission preaching peace. We have seen Honorable Ngala preaching his peace. That's the spirit that we need, that needs to animate us. We should be preaching peace. But when government on the other side, or the authorities that decide to continue with the violations and arbitrary treatment of citizens' rights, it's frustrating. It's making this crisis to continue to last forever, and we are having the hopes that some people in this government have an evil intentions on seeing that this crisis should not come to an end. So I think government should use the case of this lady, which to me is a sensitive one, to send a strong message that no one is above the law and that citizens have equal rights before the law. By so doing, I expect that government should also arrest Chief Moja and detain him in the same line as this woman is being detained, because she is presumed innocent. Let Chief Moja, who too is a suspect and presumed innocent to have committed these offences, also be arrested and sent to prison. And by doing that, it will show to us that all Cameroonians are equal before the law, and that nobody can sit on his horse and maltreat or decide on the liberty of another Cameroonian. So for now, that's just the consequence. This case should be an example to make sure that other cases do not repeat themselves.
Government should use this case to send a strong message. Barrister Ewule Lionga, do you think that there is anything positive that can be extracted from this case in view of restoring peace and normalcy in the Northwest and Southwest regions?
Of course, Babila, of course. What is happening is that when the citizens, that they can have solace in the judicial system, they tend to shy away from jungle justice and self-help. But when the population, the citizens of a particular society feels that they cannot get justice from especially the judicial system, they tend to look for self-help and jungle justice. So the first thing is that when our judicial system start doing things the right way, start doing real justice, you see that it will have a lot of things. It will have a lot of role to play as far as peace is concerned. We saw what happened in Boya last week, I think it's last week, when the young baby Caroline was shot by the military, by the gendarme in Boya. You saw the row, and quick at the attention of many was that the gendarme officer was lynched. And some of us, we had to sit back and think that, to be honest, we are against jungle justice and self-help from the population. The population should know that Cameroon is a state of law, that people can be arrested when they have committed a crime and taken to the judiciary, and justice will be delivered. But to be honest, seeing the actions of the population that day, it shows that most of them have lost confidence in the judiciary, and it's a very dangerous issue. It's a dangerous state in a society. When you see the society engaging in self-help, that we have a judiciary, is a very serious problem. And this also is a case of Madame Conso Antoinette. The population want to see how the judiciary is going to handle this case. When the population see that, yes, there is real peace, the judiciary can do their work, it has a lot to do with the minds of the people. It has a lot to do with how the people feel. So this case is out to send a very strong signal. And I am calling on everybody to come on board. It should not be like the case of Wazizi, that people started getting to me only when they heard that Wazizi was dead. That's when you saw all the international, the embassies were calling, all of this. This is the time that everybody must come on board to find out about the state of Madame Antoinette, to see that everything is done, so that when this is done, you see that people will start changing their minds. So this case should send a strong signal to the powers that be, that first, we have a judiciary which does not tolerate the government to engage itself in jungle justice. And the population, that they can rely on the judiciary when there is a problem.
Mirabel Sonki, let's wrap up with you. Many women are suffering, just like this young woman who is being detained in the Boya Central Prison. Many of them have been deprived of their husbands, their children, their fathers, their mothers. Many of them are suffering. Many have been killed. Many have been displaced, and they are living in precarious conditions. Some of them have become sex workers in different parts of the country to survive. Some of them have been killed by terrorists and even soldiers in the far north region of the country. Some years back, we saw some women with babies being gunned down in the far north region. What do you think should be done at this point in time to enhance the protection of women and other vulnerable groups like children and persons living with disabilities?
Thank you, Mr. Babila. Okay, Antoinette's case, I will put it first in the context of maternal mortality, which is not adequately addressed. You know, I don't understand that they will arrest a pregnant woman who has no case, or she's guilty of something which is yet to be defined. Her case, as we said, was not isolated. You have so many women out there who still go through this. They don't have anything. Sexual violence, they face it every day. You have a couple of them cry out to us as an association, we've been violated sexually. We turn to the law. The law cannot support. Sometimes we're asking, there's a fight we're carrying out now, which is a fight for rape and sexual to be made a national emergency where the full cycle is being taken care of by the state. Then if things like that start happening, it means that the state is concentrating and giving an ear to the women's plight. Not with that. Okay, is at its peak. You see men as young as 20 trying to subdue women into believing that they're nothing. This is something we're trying to, we're trying to make it, make people understand that we are all human beings and have equal rights as enshrined in the Constitution. So it's only the state that can make things move for women. So that's all I can say when it comes to the underprivileged and vulnerable women. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Mirabel Sankie-Wane, civil society leader, gender rights activist, founder of the Network of Solidarity, Hope and Empowerment, joining us from Mali. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much, Barrister Edward Lionga Ewule. You are a human rights lawyer, member of the Cameroon Bar Association. Thank you, Barrister Tamfu Richard, human rights advocate and peace crusader, member of the Cameroon and Nigerian Bar Associations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Babila. The pleasure is all mine, and Cameroonians should understand that criminal responsibility is individual. So, General Lopiti cannot commit an offense and is being imputed on Gongso Antoinette. So, the criminal responsibility is individual, and that's what the message I want to pass.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for this edition of The Inside.